Welcome to the Midrash Says Out Loud. This week we will be learning the Midrash Parasha, Vayahkel. I hope this channel will open your mind to the great teaching of the sages and deepen your connection to the Torah. Remember to like, share, and subscribe as we journey through the Midrash each week. Before we begin, we invite you to get your tea in a comfortable chair and relax as you listen to the Midrash out loud. Moshe called an assembly and instructed the children of Israel to erect the Mishkan. Their gathering for the sake of heaven atoned for their previous unholy assembly in which they had demanded the Egel. When the people heard that Hashem's Shekinah would reside in the Mishkan as a sign of forgiveness for the sin of the golden calf, their joy knew no bounds. The donations immediately began to flow in. They donated not only gold and silver, but even their personal jewelry. They thereby made amends for the guilt they incurred by having contributed ornaments to make an Egel. The women who had refused to give any of their jewelry for the golden calf were now the first to volunteer and donate all their jewelry to the Mishkan. In only 2 days, even more than a sufficient amount of supplies were brought, yet the donations continued to pour in. The fundraisers paced up and down the camp, calling upon the people to stop giving, the children of Israel by contributing so overwhelmingly for the Mishkan, manifested their natural trait of generosity. The Jewish people are characterized by 3 innate qualities. They are compassionate, they are bashful, they practice chesed, assisting others with charity and good deeds. It may be assumed that a Jew who lacks the above-mentioned traits does not stem from ancestors who stood at Har Sinai. Moshe proclaimed that all God-fearing men and women were invited to assist by spinning and weaving the tapestries, and by constructing parts for the walls of the Mishkan with their own hands. Both the men and the women responded. They labored and brought Moshe samples of their work. The specialty of the wise women was spinning the goat's hair for the tapestries. Since that hair was fine and stiff, it was a difficult task. Whoever assisted in the construction of the Mishkan was endowed with special wisdom from Hashem. When Moshe examined the samples that were brought to him, he found that they all conformed to Hashem's description, and he was very happy. Not only were the people who helped build the Mishkan inspired with divine wisdom, but even the animals used for its construction were granted special senses. For example, the domestic animals which had to transport the beams knew by themselves which route to take, and the wild beasts whose hide was required for the tapestries came to the children of Israel of their own accord. Both Bezalel and Aholiab were inspired with divine understanding in order to enable them to fashion the vessels of the Mishkan exactly as Hashem had commanded, and to chisel even the most intricate designs. It appears strange, however, that neither Aholiab nor any other GD-fearing people who helped build the Mishkan are given credit by the Torah for the roles they performed. Bezalel, it seems, is given all the credit for the Pesukim reiterate constantly, and he made it, an apparent reference to Bezalel alone. The reason for this is that Bezalel not only exerted himself in the material construction, he also toiled in the spiritual realm. He strained his mind to the utmost to comprehend the profound meaning behind each object. Since he invested so much spiritual effort in the building, he was rewarded by Hashem. He was consequently granted the highest degree of Ruach HaKodesh, and was able to fathom the significance of each implement. The Torah attributes the entire construction of the Mishkan to Bezalel, since by imbuing each vessel with his holy thoughts, he became its spiritual maker, putting the final seal on each object. The building of the Mishkan reveals the community of Yisrael's true character of spiritual beauty. The Jewish people proclaims, Shkora ani v'nava, I am ugly, yet beautiful. Shir Hashirim 1:5. This statement seems to be contradictory. Each of these two attributes, however, refers to a different stage in the community of Yisrael's history. Children of Yisrael proclaim, I am ugly when my own deeds are taken into consideration, but beautiful considering the deeds of my forefathers. The princess was banished from the royal court after having been accused of committing a certain transgression. She was forced to earn a living by gathering the harvest of the fields, together with the common farmers. Subsequent investigation into her evil act brought to light the fact that she was not to be blamed for the crime. Rather, it was one of the maids in the palace who had caused all the trouble. The princess was then summoned to return to the royal court. But she was no longer the fair maiden she had formerly been. Her delicate skin had suffered from exposure to the open sun in the fields. She now was sunburnt and appeared black and ugly. When the noble women came to the palace to visit, they scoffed at the sight of the black princess. "Why do you look upon me with disdain?" the princess asked them. "I need only a good salve and some baths to cure me. These will make me as fair and white as I used to be. But you were all born dark-skinned. All the cosmetics and baths in the entire world will not turn your skin white." Similarly, children of Israel possess the innate kedusha, which they inherited from their great forefathers. Even though their beauty may at times be darkened by the influence of the Yetzer Hara and of the nations, their blackness is only superficial. As soon as they exert themselves a little, they are capable of teshuvah and will regain their natural spiritual beauty. The Jewish nation states further, "I was ugly in Egypt, but beautiful when pronouncing Naaseh v'nishma at Har Sinai. I was ugly when I rebelled at the Yam Suf, but beautiful when I exclaimed there, 'This is my GD, and I shall glorify him.' I was ugly in the incident of the Chet HaEgel, but beautiful in the construction of the Mishkan." Children of Israel were led to make the golden calf because of the persuasions of Satan. As soon as Moshe returned, however, they willingly agreed to the elimination of the Eigel and death punishment of the sinners. Their great yearning for atonement and the restoration of the Shekinah to their midst was proven by their large donations for the Mishkan. They thus manifested the true character of the community of Israel, the character of natural spiritual beauty. The mistake of the Nesiim in donating for the Mishkan. As soon as the Nesiim, leaders of the tribes, heard that Hashem wanted a Mishkan to be erected, they suggested to Moshe, "We alone will supply all the materials for the Mishkan. It is not necessary for the community of Israel to donate anything." The Nesiim believed that the Shekinah would prefer to reside in a Mishkan built with their gifts rather than in a tent constructed with the donations of the people. For one, they had not been involved in the Chet HaEgel at all. Furthermore, they would donate with a pure heart since they were outstanding in wisdom and character. A Mishkan built by them, they believed, would therefore possess greater spiritual value. Moshe, however, answered, "Hashem told me to accept donations from anyone who is willing to give." The Nesiim then decided, rather than donate together with the community of Israel, we will supply whatever will be lacking at the end. They reasoned that if their gifts would complete the Mishkan, Hashem would consider it as though they had built the entire edifice. But they underestimated the generosity of children of Israel, who gave eagerly and lovingly. The Jews came to Moshe in throngs, both men and women, pushing forward in their anxiousness to fulfill the mitzvah. After 2 days, no more material was needed, and the Nesiim came too late. The Torah omits the letter Yud from the word Nesiim, 35:27, to indicate that they failed. Although they had good intentions, they were wrong to postpone the fulfillment of a mitzvah. When the Nesiim saw that no more material was needed, they donated the precious gems for the ephod and the Hoshen. Later, the Nesiim were particularly eager and quick to offer the inauguration sacrifices, Korbanot Miluim, in order to correct their mistake of having delayed their donations for the Mishkan. The Kior laver is made from the women's copper. Mirrors. Besides many other gifts, the righteous women brought their all-copper mirrors to be used as building materials. When Moshe saw these, he thought, "How can I accept them? They are tools of the Yetzer Hara." "Do not despise the mirrors," Hashem corrected Moshe. Due to these mirrors, children of Israel multiplied in Egypt. The Jewish women used them, L'shaim Shamayim, to beautify themselves in order to continue bearing children despite the Egyptian torture. Hashem commanded Moshe, "Take these mirrors for the construction of the Kior." The Jewish women used these mirrors only for purposes of Kedusha. Therefore, in the future, the sotas will be examined with the water of the Kior. They will be put to the test to determine whether they are pure and holy as were their mothers. Thank you for joining this week's journey through the Midrash. If you enjoyed this story, don't keep it to yourself. Share this channel with someone. And if you haven't already, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button for the next story. See you next week on The Midrash Says Out Loud.